Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will teach you how to crochet such a beautiful round bag without any leather or metal details. A good thing about this bag is that you can wash it right in your washing machine using some delicate mold and low water temperature. To crochet this bag, I used 2 bobbins of the t-shirt yarn, each one around 100 meters length. I also used a 6mm hook, 5mm hook, a needle with a big eye, scissors and 4 stitch markers. And the diameter of this bag is around 32 centimeters. So get ready and let's start. The base of this bag is just an ordinary circle. As you can see, I've already crocheted the first part of my future bag, and also I've crocheted a circle for the second part of the bag. To get this size of the bag that I have here, you must make 10 rows in your circle. And also I've made the first part from one bobbin of the yarn, and the second part I started to crochet from the new bobbin of the yarn. You see that this is what's left from the first bobbin after I crocheted the first part of the bag. So now make a circle, 10 rows in your circle. If you don't know how to crochet a circle, here's my tutorial. It's very detailed and easy to follow. And then come back to this video and we will continue crocheting the handle and the sides of the future bag. So you've crocheted a 10 rows circle, and from the next row we will start crocheting the handle of the bag. We start to crochet it from this place where we have our working yarn. Therefore put a stitch marker on this stitch that is near the working yarn, in front of the working yarn. Now count 7 stitches from this stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And put a stitch marker on the next one, on this one. Now count 8 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And put a stitch marker on the next one after 8 stitches. I will explain you why we are doing that. And here also the same as here, 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on the next one we put a stitch marker. Let's check again. Here we should have 7 stitches between these and these stitch markers, and here 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, everything is right. So look, these stitch markers, it's how much we can open our bag when it's ready. It's this distance. And these stitch markers, it's this distance where we start crocheting the handle and where we finish crocheting the handle. We put stitch markers not to lose these places, not to make mistakes. So the next row we start from this stitch where we've put our first stitch marker and where we have the working yarn. Just make the first stitch as always. And in this row, this distance from this stitch marker to this one, we crochet the same way as if we crochet the next row of the circle. So we follow all the same rules, adding one more single crochet between increases and not making an increase over an increase. In the last row of the circle, we have 10 rows in the circle, so in 10th row of the circle we have 8 single crochet between increases. So in the next row we will make 9 single crochet between increases. So let's start from 9 single crochet. So now I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The first one I don't count because in the end when I finish this row I will make here an increase, so I will add one more single crochet because it's better to make an increase after an increase from the previous row. So here I have my increase, and in this row I will make an increase after this increase. And here the same, I finished 9 single crochet. Here I have the increase in my previous row, so the next increase I will make here. It's not the rule that you have to make an increase after the increase from the previous row. The main thing not to make an increase over an increase. This is the main thing, but actually you can make an increase anywhere you want between the increases from the previous row in any of these single crochet. So now I have here the increase, and now again 9 single crochet. So you are like just continuing crocheting the circle, a new row in your circle, until you get the next stitch marker. And the next increase. And again 9 single crochet. You see again I have an increase after the increase from the previous row. So continue crocheting this row following all the same rules as we follow when we crochet a circle, until you get not even this marker. I took 2 the same color stitch markers for the handle on purpose, because now they are more important for us. These stitch markers we will use later. So continue crocheting this row until you get the first stitch marker that we put for the handle. So I've came to this stitch marker I told you about, the first stitch marker that we put for the handle. This stitch marker I'm not using now, I will use it later. And look, I have here my last increase, and then I could make only 3 single crochet until I get my stitch marker. The last single crochet you make in the stitch where you have a stitch marker. And maybe you have different stitches here. Maybe you have 5, 6 single crochet and then your increase. Maybe your increase will be right here in this stitch, maybe somewhere else. It depends on where you made your increases in all rows of your circle. So it's okay if you have not 3 single crochet, you have more or less after the increase. The main thing if you followed the rules about crocheting a circle. So now from this place we will start crocheting the handle. For that we make chain stitches. So we hook the working yarn and push it through the loop on the hook. 1, 2, 3, I've made 20 chain stitches, but you can make any amount of stitches you want, depending on the size of the handle that you want to get in the end. You can make less, then this handle will be smaller and this hole will be smaller per hand. You can make more chain stitches to get a longer handle. It's up to you. With 20 chain stitches you will get this handle, this size of the handle. I think it's more than enough, but it's up to you, like I said. And now we join the handle to the circle from the other side. We make just a normal single crochet into the stitch where we have a stitch marker, next stitch marker. So we insert the hook into the stitch, hook the working yarn, take a loop, hook the working yarn and push it through the loop, through both loops on the hook. The same way as we always make a single crochet. And we've joined the handle to the circle. To finish this row here, first imagine that you didn't make any handles here, that you were just continuing crocheting the row of the circle. So find your last increase. My last increase is here, and then in this row, you remember we make 9 single crochet between increases, and after the last increase count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here I would have my 9 single crochet, and into the next one I would make an increase. Then again count 9 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And into the next one I would make an increase. Maybe you have different amount of stitches here, here after the increase, like I said before. So maybe you will finish not with the increase, you will finish just with the single crochet. It doesn't matter. The main thing, follow the rules. So now I counted that all this way until the end I should make single crochet, just one single crochet into each single crochet from the previous row, and my next increase will be here into my first stitch of the row. So you just pretend that you didn't make any handles here, that you are just continuing crocheting the row of the circle. And I came to my next increase. It should be here, but I already have one stitch here, so I will add one more single crochet into this stitch. To get an increase. And now we join this row the same way as we joined all rows in the circle. And now move all the stitch markers up. Here also, everywhere. So we leave it at the same place, but we just move it one stitch up on our new row. And we are ready to start the next row. So next row we start again from this stitch where we have a stitch marker near the working yarn. And this row we will crochet completely the same way as the previous one. So we will crochet all the way around the circle until we get this stitch marker where we have the beginning of our handle, following all the rules of crocheting a circle. So in the previous row we made 9 single crochet between increases. In this row we will make 10 single crochet between increases. And since I have here an increase in my previous row, the first increase in this row, in new row, I will make here. And then 10 single crochet. And an increase. after 10 single crochet, and then again 10 single crochet, and finish this part of this row until you get the stitch marker I told you about before our handle. So I came to this stitch marker I told you about. As you can see, my last single crochet I've made into this single crochet where I have a stitch marker, and now we'll continue crocheting the handle of the bag. Look at your chain stitches from the back side. Here our chain stitches have this kind of bumps. So now we will insert the hook under these bumps and make single crochet. Also look carefully where is your first bump. It's this one. The first bump of the first chain stitch is this one. Try to show you closer. So we hook the yarn and make just an ordinary single crochet. Now insert the hook under the next bump. If it will be hard for you to do that, you can take a smaller hook temporarily while you're crocheting the handle. I think I will take a smaller one. This is 4mm hook, and it will be easier. And make a single crochet. Under the next one. And continue crocheting the same way until the end of the handle and the last bump left. Now if you want, you can count the stitches. You must have also 20 single crochet, and we join this row of the handle with the row on the circle. We will do that into the stitch where we have a stitch marker. And I get back to my 6mm hook. So we make a single crochet into this stitch with the stitch marker. Insert the hook, the yarn, take a loop, hook the yarn and push it through both loops on the hook. Just a normal single crochet. And now to finish this row, to understand if we need to make here any increases or not, we should count it the same way as in the previous row. So we pretend that we didn't make any handle here, we just continued crocheting the row of the circle. But in this row, I advise you to count from this side, not from this one. I will explain you why. Because you might not remember which stitches you would have in the previous row. Remember when you counted. You might not remember where you made your increase. Because if you made an increase somewhere here, for example here, you made an increase in the previous row, then in this row that we are crocheting now, you should count here as 2 single crochet. When you count 10 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then here you have to count 2 single crochet because in the previous row you made an increase here. Yeah, you imagine that you made an increase here, and so in this row you get 2 single crochet. But you might not remember all this. What did you make? What would you make in the previous row? So that's why I advise you to count from this side, because for example in my case, here's my increase. The first increase is very close to this place where we stopped, to the handle, so it will be much easier to count where I would make my next increase, where I should make just single crochet. And I always repeat that you might have a little different stitches here. I mean, your increases might be in different places than mine, so just follow the rules and count from any side you want, depending on how it's more convenient for you. In my case, it's more convenient from here, to count from here. So here's my increase, and then I count 10 single crochet, because we have in this row 10 single crochet between increases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And into the next one I would make the next increase if I just crocheted a normal row of the circle. So in my case, I just finished this row without making any increases anymore. And then join the row the same way. And move your stitch markers up again. And we can start the next row. Next row we crochet completely the same way. I mean this part of the row until we get this stitch marker before our handle. So we start again from this stitch where we have a stitch marker. And in this row we will have 11 single crochet between increases. And my first increase I will make into this stitch after the increase of the previous row after. And then 11 single crochet. And next increase after 11 single crochet. And again 11 single crochet. And continue crocheting this row until you get that stitch marker I showed you before the handle. So I've came to my handle, and as always my last single crochet I've made into this stitch where I have a stitch marker. And now we will finish our handle. So what we're gonna do now, we will do the yarn winding of the handle like this, and as you can see that these stitches are right side up. So for example, if we take our working yarn, all the stitches are like this, not the seamy side up. We should put them all right side up. To make it possible, you should always here, I mean while we are crocheting the handle, you should always keep the working yarn here on this your hand seamy side up like this, not like this, but like this. All the time you have to watch this working yarn here, so it would be seamy side up. So we insert the hook into this hole. Here we have seamy side up yarn. We hook the yarn and make like a single crochet. Now again check the yarn here, so it would be seamy side up. Insert the hook, hook the yarn, And always fix the stitches to make them like very close to each other. Then again we fix the yarn here to make it like this. Insert the hook, hook the yarn, so as you can see, when we hold the yarn here like this, we get right side up stitches. And also you don't have to count how many stitches you will make here, it doesn't matter. The main thing to cover like this all the handle until you get to the end of the handle. So again, check the working yarn here. And after you finish here, as always, we make a single crochet into the stitch where we have a stitch marker. And now the same as before, we should find out if we need to make here any increases to finish this row. And again, I will count from this side. In this row we made 11 single crochet between increases. So here's my first increase and I count 11 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 here. And here I would make an increase if I just crocheted a normal row of the circle without the handle. So the same as before, I don't need to make any increases here anymore to finish this row. So I just continue making single crochet. And I remind you that in your case it might be a little different depending on where did you make your increases in your previous row. Now we join this row the same way as we did it before. And also put your stitch markers up. You remember that in the beginning we've left here 7 single crochet between these stitch markers, and here 7 single crochet between these stitch markers. But because we crocheted 3 more rows and in some places we made increases, you might have now more than 7 single crochet on this side or on this side. So let's check. We count only these single crochet that which are between the stitch markers. We don't count this single crochet where we have stitch markers. So only between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here everything is right. And let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here now we have 10 single crochet instead of 7. That's why we have to move this stitch marker and put it the way to get here 7 single crochet again. From this side we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we put a stitch marker on the next one, here on this one. And also it's the right moment to change these intervals. Even if you made 7, the same as me, and now you see that you want to make less or more, because that's how our bag will be opened. Now you can change these intervals, choosing any amount of single crochet between these stitch markers, but move only these stitch markers, not these. And from now we start crocheting the sides of the bag, and we will use for that these stitch markers, only these. And the first stitch we make the same way as before, into this single crochet where we have a stitch marker, and now we don't make any increases anymore. We just make 1 single crochet into each single crochet from the previous row until we get this stitch marker. It's the next one. So continue by yourself until you get the next stitch marker. So we came to this single crochet where we have a stitch marker. Now you see our bag is getting its shape. And to finish this row, we will make here a border all the way around until we get the beginning of the row. For that, we insert the hook under these stitches on top. Before we inserted the hook in the middle of the single crochet, right here, and now we will insert the hook under these stitches into these little holes between a single crochet. So we insert the hook under the first stitch, hook the yarn, take a loop, and push this loop through this one. Into the next one, under this stitch, take a loop and push this loop through this one. Under the next one, and here on the handle the same. Under these stitches. And we are getting such border here. So continue crocheting the border until you come to the first stitch marker. And the last one here. And to finish the row, to join the border to the row here in a good way, we have to pull out all this tip that left, so all the yarn that left from the bobbin. And to make the last stitch here, I will use a needle with a big eye, but you can also use your hook. So here's our first stitch of the row, and we should insert the needle under this stitch like this. And now we should bring the needle with the yarn back to the same place where this tip comes from. So here was our tip, it comes from here, so we should bring it back. So this is our stitch that we've just made. And we have finished this row. Now let's move our stitch markers as always up. So this one we put here. And these stitch markers, we don't need them anymore. So and we're gonna crochet the very last row of this part of the bag. So as always, we start from this stitch where we have a stitch marker, and we make the first single crochet into it. And then, the same as in the previous row, we will not make any increases anymore. We just make one single crochet into each single crochet from the previous row until we get the next stitch marker all the way around. And the last single crochet we make into this single crochet where we have a stitch marker. So that's all. We have finished the first part of the bag. Now just pull out this tip of the yarn. As you can see now, this part of the bag that we've just crocheted is bending here on the sides. But because this side of the basket will be like a front side, we must bend it in the opposite direction, like this. And this will be inside this side. So now crochet the second part of the bag the same way, and after that I will show you how we crochet these two parts together. And for that we will use these long tips that left in the end of the last row. So you've crocheted the second part, and now our bag is almost ready. All we need to do is just to crochet these two parts together. And for that we will use one of these tips that left from the bobbins of the t-shirt yarn. So I made these balls from the tips to choose a longer tip. And since this ball looks bigger, that means that this tip is longer. So I will use this tip to crochet these two parts together. For now I just put it aside, and I take a smaller one, and we just leave here a little tip and cut the yarn. And now from the other side, from the front side, I want to make here one more stitch, because if you look carefully on this side, you see here this braid. But from this side, it looks like it finishes here. So this one more stitch that we will make now will join this border, this braid, with the last row of the circle. And it will look the same as here. For that, I will use a needle with a big eye. And now we insert the needle under this stitch. This is the first stitch after the last single crochet, and it's the first stitch of the braid of this border. So we insert the needle like this under this stitch. And now we bring the needle to the same place where this tip comes from. So here's our tip. It comes from here, from this stitch. And now we insert the needle into the same place. And we've made here one more stitch. So now our border is joined to the last row of the circle, and we have the same braid as on this side. And the rest of the tip we will just hide from the inside the bag, from the other side, from the back side, under the stitches, just pushing the tip under the stitches with the needle. You can do it in different directions to make it stronger. And then cut the rest of the yarn. And now, before we start crocheting these two parts together, we should make the same stitch here on the other part. Here also one more stitch the same way to make this braid here. So I will also use the needle. We will do all the same as we just did with the first part. So here we should make one more stitch. So we insert the tip, the needle, under this stitch, the first stitch after last single crochet, or the first stitch of this border, and now we bring it back to the same place where it comes from. So this is it. And finally, we start crocheting these two parts of the bag together. So we put these two parts together like this. As you can see, we have here such braids on this part of the bag and on this one. Every braid has such stitches that look like V here and on the other part. So while crocheting these two parts together, we will insert the hook in the middle of each stitch, like this. So in the middle of this V, like this. And the same on the other part. I hope it's clear where we insert the hook. So let's make the first stitch. So we put first stitches together, the first stitch of the one part and the first stitch of the another part. These are. So we insert the hook in the middle of the first stitch of the first part, then in the middle of the first stitch of the second part, also from here, not like this, not like this, also from the top. And then we hook the working yarn, this tip, and we push this tip, the working yarn, through both loops on the hook, this one and this one. And through the second one. So let's try again. First we insert the hook in the middle of the next stitch of the first part, then in the middle of the next stitch from the second part, then we hook the working yarn and we push the working yarn through all loops on the hook, but don't push it through all the loops at once, because I know it's very hard. So push first slowly through the first one, then through the next one, and through the last one. So I've pushed it through the first loop, now through the next one, and through the last one. Again, we insert the hook in the middle of the next stitch, on the first part, then in the middle of the next stitch on the second part, then we hook the working yarn and push the working yarn through all loops on the hook. The first one, second one, and the last one. I'm trying to show you slowly. Hook the yarn. And we are getting here one more braid. Let's make the next stitch. So in the middle of the next stitch, on the first part, in the middle of the next stitch on the second part, hook the working yarn and push the working yarn through all loops on the hook. Next one. Hook the working yarn. So now you have to finish the same way all the way around until the end of this row. And here I will show you how to finish, how to make last stitches and how to hide the rest of the yarn. So now I'm making my last stitches. So we almost finished. Now leave here a short tip and cut the yarn. Pull out the tip. And now we will make 2 more stitches. 1 stitch here and 1 stitch here. We need it first to make it look better, to connect this braid with this one and this braid with this one, and also we will make this place stronger. I will use for that a needle with big eye as always. So first we start from the stitch here. We insert the needle under this stitch like this. So this is our tip, goes here, and now we will bring it back into the same place where it comes from. So it comes from here and we bring it back to the back side of the bag. So we've made here one more stitch, this one. And now we need to make one more stitch on this side. So first find this stitch, this one, and insert the needle from the back side in the middle of this stitch. Yeah, between these two strands of the yarn, in the middle of this stitch. Now we insert the needle under the last stitch of this braid that we've got when we crochet two parts together. So this was the last stitch. We insert the needle under it like this. Now we insert the needle under the stitch that we made before. And now we bring it back into this stitch in the middle of it. So we've made one more stitch. And now from the back side of the bag, here inside, we push the tip of the yarn, as always, under these stitches in different directions to finish our crochet. And then cut the rest of the yarn. And our bag is ready. And this is what's left from 2 bobbins of the t-shirt yarn. Now if you want, you can do the wet hot treatment. How I do that I showed in my video. Just put some towels inside to make it keep its shape, iron it with the steam, and then leave it for several hours with the towels inside until it's completely dry. I hope the tutorial was clear for you and you like it. If you still have any questions, write them in comments and I will try to help you. Please leave your thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click on the bell not to miss my next tutorials. Thank you for watching. and see you soon!